episode number 17, I spoke to Senior Master Sergeant Mark Castleberry, Fairchild's top 3 president of 2021. Mark and I were not too familiar with one another when he agreed to be on this podcast. I have only heard great things about him from other senior NCOs and leaders around the base. I first met Mark at a top 3 meeting, and it was memorable because he was able to call just about everybody in that room by their first name, to include my own. Learning someone's name is one of the most fundamental things you can do when trying to gain influence, and I had to ask Mark about the effort and deliberateness he makes on learning names. We talk about why connecting people is important to him, and I ask questions to share insight on what it would be like for anyone who is interested in running for a private organization council position. So today, episode number 17 of Have a Tisue podcast, I've got Jonathan Mark Castleberry. I know you just go by Mark. Yep. So if you would, just tell us about yourself.
Pretty simple guy. Mark Castleberry came from Farmington, Missouri, where I joined the Air Force. I've been in a little over 20 years. Fairchild is my fifth base.
Okay.
Fifth base. I'm trying to think here.
Yeah.
Make sure I'm right. Yeah. Fourth, fifth, somewhere in there. Great move. Came from Dover, Korea, Little Rock here. Fourth. There we go. Figured it out. Fourth. Pretty simple guy. Laid back. Pretty country. Just honest way of living. Just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Motto. Just keep it simple.
And you're CE now, right?
CE structures guy by trade. Carpenter, welder, mason.
Okay.
The real aircraft. The aircraft structures. That's not real structures.
Yeah.
So you got real structures guys, and that's me, carpenter.
Do you feel like a lot of country people end up in CE career field?
No, not really. I think it's a pretty good melting pot with all the AFSCs that we have in there. Most people think we're one, but we break down into we've got almost 13, 14 AFSCs that merge within CE. Mm-hmm. So we're just one, but I think we merged down from like 6 career fields into one.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
So when there's 14 career fields, which one's the best?
Man, let's be honest with you. This is be honest with you. I mean, EOD, everyone thinks it's sexy and fun and cool, but that's neat, right? But being able to make something with your hands, that's pretty cool. Be able to turn something into from nothing to something, it's pretty neat. Or be able to problem solve, right? And we're not working off TOs every day, so it's what's industry doing? How do you know something to do something different? Mm-hmm. So it's a blessing, to be honest with you, because then it's not like factory work every day. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think a job like that would be cool where you're doing something different, especially as an airman. Like you just get to go out and solve a problem probably by yourself almost every day.
It is. I mean, of course, you're growing just like anything else, right? We have our books and stuff like that we got to grow off of. CDC's upgrade, but the cool thing is it's probably one of the few jobs that we want you to step out. We want you to learn. Maybe you have a different background from where you're from, right? Sure. Or there's a different technique. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. But we allow you to do that. Does that make sense?
It does.
So it's pretty cool. So I think people that are really good with thinking outside the box, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. So what is your duty title or job now or for the next 5 days? I left this out. Mark is PCS down south with his wife, Christina, in a couple of days, and he was nice enough to find time to do this. So thanks for finding that time. But what is your job for the last?
Operations Flight Superintendent of CE. So I'd say it's probably about 70%, 80% of the squadron manning and stuff like that. Okay. So your traditional craftsmen, like your plumbers, your structures, HVAC, entomology, dirt boys, customer service, stuff like that, and electricians and all that they all fall underneath me. All your typical tradesmen.
So about how many airmen are you responsible for?
229.
That's the exact
number.
Huh?
I mean, you have to see it, but yeah, it's a blessing.
So sitting in your position, how do you get the opportunity or time to influence and have an impact on 229 different people?
Man, it's putting them feelers out there, right? No one can do anything alone. It's you got to build your network, right? Your senior NCOs, I say your people. I say that not because we're senior NCOs, but like people in general, right? Like you gotta know who's the influencer in each shop.
Okay.
Might be an airman, might be an NCO, but if you can build that network with them, it makes your message easier, and you know what the heartbeat, the pulse, and stuff's going on around there. And it's just honestly just taking care of folks. Yeah, that makes sense, right? It's just fun. I'd rather do that than the job because it's paperwork. You have to do it, but getting out and having the relationships, that's the fun part.
Yeah. So Erica actually you said a few things there that I wanted to ask on.
Lord.
Erica actually asked her, hey, she's on our podcast. She recommended getting you on here, and I said I'll try. And luckily enough, through her, I was able to get you to come, Mark.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. But I said, tell me something that I have to ask him.
Oh, Lord.
And her question was, I guess it's like a 2-part question. But first, like you said, networking is important. How do you connect with people?
Being available, right? Being available. I need more from those than what people really need from me. Most people get it, roles reversed a little bit, and they think, hey, what can we get from him? How can he help us and stuff like that? It's probably more beneficial for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To me, I think I get more than they think I do. But making yourself available. Everyone says, hey, they have an open door policy or whatever like that. I truly do, right? And the good thing is most people realize I'm never in my office. So, my door's always open, but I'm always roaming. Management by walk around. That's what we call it.
Okay.
And I got that from Chief Hatcher. So we always block off our schedule in a day, and just randomly, if I don't have to be at a meeting, I'm not going to be at a meeting. Does that make sense? Divide and conquer. So my flight commander, right now it's Captain Reggae, phenomenal. I don't have to be at every meeting. Does that make sense? We can divide and conquer. My job's people. Making sure they're doing that. The work, we'll get it done and stuff like that. But my job is to take care of the people. If they're not right, then we're not going to be right. So management by walk around, be visible, be accessible.
Okay. So. Yeah, it sounds like a semi-generic thing to just say be available, but for you to have like your own reasons and how you do it.
Yeah.
Learning for other people to learn exactly how to do that is like something really cool. I think we could all learn from. Yeah. It also sounds like you got a good relationship with your captain, which definitely probably has to help out.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Light years ahead of her time.
So the second part of the question, Erica says, she first said, ask how do you connect with people, which that was a great answer. I don't know if she's asked you this before or not, but the second part was, why is connecting important to you? Not just, I guess, with your airmen. Obviously that helps, but in general, it sounded like connecting with people is important to you.
You got to think, though, we're all, this is either 4 years to 30 years, right? So
sure.
Either you're going to separate, at 4 years, or you go on to do 30 years. There's very few in betweens, with life circumstances and stuff like that. You want to be able to connect at least on a personal level, because even though we might not work together, we've met each other the first time in the Stampede room. I still remember when you asked me if you could stand up and talk about, what you're wanting to bring to the base. And the first thing I said is, hey, man, we go by first names. Top three, we go by first names. You're right. And why? I need to know who John is. I don't need to know what Master Sergeant, blah, Senior Airman, blah. I need to know what John is about. And my name is, a lot of people screw up and call me Jonathan, right? They're like, Jonathan. And my wife will tell you, do I answer? Never do, right? Everyone's like, Jonathan. I'm like, what? Who are they talking to? But the thing is, you need to know Mark, right? Because here's the thing. Say I'm in Mississippi, and say you're passing through Keesler, and we didn't have a relationship, or it was too work related, and we didn't build somewhat of a bond or an understanding, is going and say you're on a hard time or I'm on a hard time, and you're passing through or I'm passing through. You want to be able to sit there and go, hey, Mark, I'm on have a flat tire, or hey, man, I'm going through a bad time. You really want that true connection, like someone you could really reach out to. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because and the thing is with the military, we got people all around the world, so you want to be able to have that, because who knows where we're going to be, right? I didn't expect to be in Mississippi when I got orders last month, and it was like, oh, God. But here's the thing. I didn't know if I had anybody down there. I have an NCO, 2 NCOs that used to be with me at Little Rock down there. They've already texted me tonight, hey, is there anything I can do for you on your way down here?
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's cool, right? And then at the same time, I've got another, a chief down there who we know only via phone when he was a senior. And it's like, hey, man, he's like, hey, if you need me to go look at houses for you, he's not even on my base. I'm on a Navy base. He's on the Keesler down the road, right? So that's pretty cool. That's relationships. That's what it's about, right?
Yeah, so have you always been like that, even like as a high school kid or as a A1C?
Yeah, my wife will tell you. Yeah, she's like, social butterfly. And I'm like, but here's the good thing. It's, you want to be that way. Like, you have to be an extrovert at work. Does that make sense? I have to make myself vulnerable.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I got to open myself up. And she'll tell you at home I'm a little bit more stoic. I like to be left alone. But my thing is I have to make myself available, folks, right? I have to open up, because they got to know where I'm coming from. If I want the best out of them, they got to know what they can get from me. So
that's great. Something I've always kind of thought about people who are good with networking, good at building relationships, is they either still do, or at least when they were younger, they cared a lot about what other people thought of them. Do you think you cared a lot what people thought about you when you were younger?
When I was younger,
like high school.
Oh man, it's pretty wild. So I'll just leave it at that. My mother said if I was first, I'd have been last. But that's pretty wild. I think everybody cares, right?
Sure.
People that say they don't, I don't really buy into that, right? They're like, I don't care what people think. They do.
You wouldn't say that.
Yeah, right? So, I do care, but at the same time, I have a genuine, care for just human beings, right? Sitting there going like, if you're on a hard time, let me help you, right? Even if it's at my expense a little bit, I'll do it. In turn, I think most people would do that for you. Does that make sense?
Sure.
It might not be to the grand level or grand, what you think the end result might be, but some of the best help I've ever got is no. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, whoa, what do you mean? Like, no. Some of the best lessons I've ever had is sitting there going, no, you can't do that. And I was like, oh man, but that let me know that they still cared about me. That's still a relationship.
Yeah.
So I do care what people think, but at the same time it's not going to change me. Like you might have a negative thought about me, but maybe we just need to find a way to connect at a different level or a different way.
Yeah.
Right. Podcast. You know what I mean? If you like hunting and fishing, I definitely got you. Stuff like that, working on cars. Maybe it's not your passion. Maybe it's something else. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. Let them in. Let them try. If it doesn't, no shame. Find the next person.
That's a really good attitude. Yeah. Something you said earlier that I really something you said earlier that I really liked is I read it in a book once, and I feel like I read enough to where I'll read interesting things, write it on my little book of like things to remember from books, and then I forget about it. But one of the things you said is you have to know who the influencers are within each shop. It could be a young airman. And something I've always said is that the best leader is not always someone older or a higher rank. It's very often the youngest guy or someone a lot lower ranking than us.
Yep.
Do you have like any like examples of influencers who were a lot younger or lower ranking?
Right now on base, probably he just got promoted. He actually promoted. I still remember it's my first full day at work. I remember him. Sergeant Probstel, he's working up at MSG as the exec right now. He's a plumber by trade. He's a WFM guy. He's 6'8", real tall guy from Germany. Just one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Senior airman, everybody gets along with him. Great personality, just willing to work, just grind. You know what I mean? Everyone around his shop gravitates to him and a few other of the NCOs, and that's probably one of the tightest, shops I've ever seen in my life. And he and I have a really good relationship. I always used to pick on him, just mess with him a little bit, just kind of rib him. He's we're both big into sports. And he sat there and he just laughed and he's like, oh man, you always giving me heck. You dang right I am. But here's the thing. Now he can reach out to me for anything. I reach out to him, even for help, even for myself. Right. Mm-hmm. And, here's the thing. He's one of the influencers in the squadron. And then we also talked about getting involved at like the booster club level. Right. Yeah. Because now he's building his team. He's building his family. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's less work on us, if that makes sense, if you do it that way.
It does. What was his name?
David Probstel.
Probstel?
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I was talking to Eric about this the other day. Is when I was like an airman, I felt like I never really had like a mentor where I was like, I can just ask this guy anything, and I know he's going to answer me and not like make fun of me or talk shit to me or make me feel weird about it. So it sounds like Probstel has that with you, hopefully, where he knows for the rest of his career, he can just, if he doesn't know something, I can just hit up Mark and figure out the answer.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell all my folks, and we talking about the other day, leaving civilians on base, right? Mm-hmm. We did a going away the other day, which was totally unplanned because I don't like going aways.
But it was, for yourself or for anyone?
For myself. Okay. I'd rather just kind of not say die off, but kind of fade out. You know what I mean? But they had one the other day, and I tell everybody my phone number never changes. Does that make sense? So like,
even when you went to Korea and back, didn't change?
Kept my phone number, everything like that. But my thing is reach out to them, right? That's how I use it. I always tell everybody my phone's always on. It's always open. You can call me anytime, day or night. It really doesn't bother me, right? So, and that's true. Like she'll tell you right now, I get phone calls, especially in my position, just for work.
You sure?
All days and all day and night. But at the same time, with these other folks, like say Probes or whatever like that, we're able to sit down and have an actual just Mark and Dave, conversation, and it's awesome. It's to me, it's I need that. Does that make sense? I don't need every day going, hey, senior. It's like, okay, we understand that, right? But at the same time as what is truly like what's going on, right? And we've had those really good connections with multiple folks, and it's like that's a blessing. To me, that charges my batteries. Does that make sense?
It does.
Not being all weird, but it really helps me. Like, man, dang. And then I sit there and I think about how would I attack it different. How did I have those struggles? But even younger, I didn't have those, right?
You didn't have a mentor? what you're saying?
I'm not saying a mentor, but people weren't so forthcoming with that, right? Senior airmen were sir, staffs were like, oh God, techs were like, oh God, don't even make eye contact, and the master was like, that guy's gonna kill you, if you look at him.
Yeah.
And then you're like, then you're like senior, you're like, who in the hell? That's a mythical creature, right? And the chief, you're like, no one messes with the old guy. But honestly, I think we're a little bit more standoffish. I don't think we're a lot different. I just think we're more. I think we're a little bit more involved more. I mean, I think we're taking it to a deeper level than what we got when we were younger. We didn't get much feedbacks. I don't know if you did or not, but I couldn't tell you really any feedbacks that I had when I was younger.
Yeah.
It was more do your job, rock out, and then we're good. And it was like, okay, but how do I do this? You really didn't get a lot of that. You only had the one or two that would pick you up and take you.
Sure. Yeah, and that's like mentorship is such a huge deal for not only for the mentor in itself to learn and like feel good, like you said, to get your own batteries charged, but just imagine a probe stool who has you, someone he can reach out to for any problem he has, and then an identical twin probe stool who doesn't have that. Yeah. And like if you just looked like 5-10 years, you'll know which one's going to be doing way better.
Yeah, and here's the thing though, if you get those touch points, one or two around certain groups and stuff like that, I wouldn't say shops, but like groups, because people gravitate to anybody. Could be a group that you think's like like they're not headed in the right direction, or hey, they're slackers or whatever like that. But here's the thing: if you can influence one, and then they say, hey, John's doing great, thanks, man. He's really trying to help us out, or hey, this is where we're going, this is what our direction is. It'll naturally start pulling them, right? Yep. So that's all you got to do. You ain't got to influence everybody. You just got to find the ones or twos, right?
I agree. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Word of mouth buy-in. Yeah. Wow. So with your career, you said 5 different bases. This is number 5, and it sounds like except for Korea, PACAF, they were all AMC. Is that
all AMC?
Just coincidence?
I mean, I think I got lost for a while. I think the Air Force said, you know what, let's just leave this guy here for a long time. But it's been I'd say it's been a blessing, right? Been deployed quite a bit, so it's kind of weird. Now I'm stepping out and going to AETC, so it's gonna be like, oh gosh, what do we do here? But no, it's all AMC. But so far, I mean, I think it's the same. Everybody talks ACC and what they're doing and all that, but our ops tempo has always been pretty cranking in CE. Sure. So our dwell times and stuff like that are pretty insane. So
Dover, Fairchild, Little Rock, Korea.
Yeah, that's 4, and then now I'm going to Gulfport and Naval Station. Yeah.
And your wife's going to Biloxi, right?
She's going to Keesler Air Force.
Okay. So out of those places you've been so far, not counting Gulfport, which one's been your favorite?
I'll be honest with you. I was at Little Rock such a long time. I mean, I was there for a long time.
You're partial to it.
Yeah, no, but I'll be honest with you. I think Fairchild, and I know it sounds weird, because when I first got here, I was like, oh, Lord, what'd you do for me, right? But it's the relationships here and people, genuinely. I mean, I don't know. I think we felt more of a connection here, right? So
how long were we here for?
We literally just hit 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Time on station. So like right at 2 years is when I got my assignment. I got my assignment notification. So it's like, all right, time to go.
Yeah.
But it's good. But honestly, I think besides the weather up here, it's not a bad location. I mean, the weather up here, let's be honest with you, I hate shoveling snow. I'd rather have my feet in sand. Yeah. So
yeah, I agree with that. Snow sucks. I don't know how many people like it.
It's too windy up here too, but other than that, I mean, people are a blessing. We're great neighbors, great community. Mm-hmm. So we're really involved with our neighbors and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So something that I really liked about you when I first talked to you over the phone, because I remember the first time I talked to you is Chief Guzman. I was trying to set up that academy, and Chief Guzman told me to call you your top 3 president, and we'll get into that too. I got questions on that. But he told me to call you, and I remember calling you saying, I'm sorry, Tisue, and I think you even asked me, well, what's your first name? I said, oh, John. And you said, okay, John. And we had that talk about names. And then when I went to that first meeting, I remember saying, hey, I'm John. Or I think you even said it to me first because you saw my last name. Like you said my name.
Yeah, I probably totally screwed it up. I probably called you Tisue.
I think you did, but that's fine. Everybody does. Like you'd screw it up if you said it right.
Yeah, you'd be like, what the heck?
How do you know this? Yeah. But so I feel like I talk about this book on half of the podcast, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, my favorite book. And my favorite thing about it is I read it when I was young 20s, and I learned how important names were. And that was something you took seriously by like knowing my name when I first met. And I think that's why I was somewhat drawn to you. It's like, whoa, this guy's a name guy as well. Yeah. And then I called you Mark, worried like you're a senior. How are you actually going to take this face to face? You were good with it. But then in the room, you were calling everyone by their name. And I thought that was really cool. Like just sitting in the middle of the room, seeing you call everybody by their name. Has names always been important to you? Or is that something you picked up?
I think it grows with you. If that makes sense, right? I think your community gets smaller as you get promoted. I know it seems weird. You feel like you're on an island, but it's really. I think it's just.
I've never heard that.
I think it's kind of a perceived thing because as you go as you progress through, right? Like Master Sergeant, oh gosh, I think there's almost 300 on Fairchild right now. Seniors, there's only like 30 of us, a little over 30. Your peer group gets smaller, right? But does it really? No, we're top 3. We're senior NCOs, right? So my peer group, if anything, it's growing.
Yeah, if you
look at it like that. So my thing is even my younger guys, I'll even call like Propsel, hey Dave, you know what I mean? I'll talk to those. I've got another guy, Aaron, much more. Aaron, why? They see that because you hear sergeant every day, sergeant. Who are they talking to? If someone yelled out John in a crowd, would you turn around?
Probably.
Yeah, but there's probably like 400 other Johns in there, right? But my thing is if you sit there and if someone knows you, right, and if they yell, if they yell your last name or whatever like that, or if someone comes in and says, hey John, would you mind helping me with this? Versus, hey Sergeant, can you get this done? There's 2 different meanings in that, right? And I think it's this personal connection.
Okay.
So to me, I hear it all day long. So
it's nothing you learned at a leadership course, nothing you read in a book, just something you
just growing. I don't know how to say it. I just adapted to it, if that makes sense. So.
It does. Yeah. I try to use first names all the time, and one of the struggles I have being in the Air Force is I'll have peers or even supervisors tell me you can't call people by their first name. It's a struggle because I, like you, know the relationship that I could build with someone.
It's a kind of a light switch, though, right? So you just have to sit there. I had a guy, John Anderson, my first supervisor, my first real shop supervisor. He was a tech. When we deployed together back in right after shock and awe kicked off, we sat down and at work, Sergeant Anderson. At home, it's Jay. We still talk to this day. You know what I mean? 20 years later, and I haven't been stationed with him since 2005, and we still talk. And I'm still yes sir and all stuff like that. But it's Jay, right? And then as soon as we were at work, that light switch came on. Around people, it's Sergeant Anderson. Right.
Okay.
Now, you just got to remember that mentality. It's old school mentality of sitting there. Hey, if your peers are around or, subordinates are around, whatever like that, then, hey, Sergeant so-and-so, right? Or senior, master sergeant, whatever. But you and me, if it's a good thing, where it's us, hey, Mark, hey, John.
Okay.
Let's kick it. That's how I've always done it. I always call it the light switch.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like young Mark understood the light switch, but would you say it's fair to assume everyone knows that light switch? Right?
No one does. But the thing is, that's understanding people, right? You got to know who, and you got to have those conversations, right? And the thing is, if you're having that conversation, are you really on that deep of a level? So that's how you got to look at it, right? So most people understand it. The ones that you can feel them out, it, right? So most times at work, she'll tell you, senior. Like, and no one ever says senior Castleberry. They say senior. Mm-hmm. And we have multiple seniors within CE, right? We have 3 right now. But everybody, hey, senior. I'm like, hey, what's up, right? And then, but all my other peers are like, hey, we sat down in my office. They're like, hey, Mark, what do you think about this? Let's talk, right? Let's kick it. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right. Here's a question. Talking about career. This one's one of my favorite to ask, but I usually forget to ask it. Something that the Air Force does better than any other organization in the world.
My wife told me a joke today.
Let's hear the joke first. Unless it's the answer.
No. It's what? How'd it go? Say it.
Which military force is the most patriotic?
It's the Air Force. You know why?
Why?
USS Fuck, right? USAF, USS Fuck, right? So,
we got a good acronym.
Yeah, we got a good acronym for it, but I don't know.
It's tough, huh?
Yeah.
Would you say it's possible the answer is nothing?
It's plausible.
There's a lot of organizations out there. So
there is. I don't know.
I bet flying jets were probably pretty good. I've never answered the question.
I don't care about jets. To be honest with you, if you really want to know, CE's where it's at, right? We should have built the Air Force around CE. Let's just be honest with everybody, right? No, I'm just messing with you.
I'm not going to agree with it.
As we're sitting around a wing table, it's like, well, this is kind of a herd. No, but the No, I don't know.
It's a tough question, right?
It is.
Do you think if you asked like Colonel Bentley, he would have an answer for that? I feel like it's a tough question to answer, especially if you didn't prepare for it.
Say it again.
What is one thing that the Air Force does better than any other organization in the world?
I'll be honest with you. I joined the Army when I first joined.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, my stepdad, he's a retired Green Beret, he's a colonel. Almost 32 years service. Prior enlisted, then went over. I joined the Army initially, and then I turned around and he drugged me out of there and said, "You're not going to live the way I did." Right? Prior enlisted, he's cut up, he's an old POW, and he said, "Get in the Air Force." And I was like, "Man, I was that knuckleheaded kid. I told you I was pretty wild, and I really was."
How old were you this time?
I was 17.
Okay.
And he's like, "You're not going to live the life that I lived." And I said, "Man, what do you want to mean? I want to jump out of planes. I want to do airborne. I want to do everything. Okay, I don't want to be a Green Beret." Just kind of like him, right? Because he's always been kind of a role model. And he's like, "No." He goes, "Dude." And so we talked the other day, and he's like, "How you doing?" I said, "Man, I'm doing great." And he said, "Hey, how'd your E9 boards go?" And we talked about it a little bit. And he goes, "Man, you're killing it. I'm glad you're in." And I was sitting there, I was like, "Dude, I owe all this to him because I probably would have been out of the Army."
Yeah.
Right. I'd have been mad at the world, but I think we honestly take care of our people, right? Everyone says they give you education and stuff like that, but it's not on their evaluations. It's on ours, right? We challenge you to learn, whether it's, degrees down there, technical training or just whatever it is, just self, to better yourself. I think that's what we take care of our folks better. I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that. That's a good answer.
That's where I'm at. I mean, think about it. From joining the Army and then being drug up, honestly, by my collar, being thrown in the Air Force, I've never thanked a man more in my life than I have him. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think about this all the time. I'm like into space and like strength. There's just like all these ideas and the fact that, he is Army, retired Army, and like that he stopped you from pursuing that yourself. Yeah. Like had he just not done that, who knows where your life would have been. Would you have known Krista if you hadn't joined?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I think she'd have found herself to me. You know what I mean? I'm just a pretty likable guy. She sat here and just shook her head no at me. You know what I mean? But I got lucky. I just got lucky. She thinks I have a great personality, so I'm just good with it. So
that's good. Maybe because you knew her name.
Well,
which I just messed up. But
yeah, it's all right though. I mean, she calls me Hey half the time, so it's fine.
That's a good name.
It's all right. No, but honestly, I think we get it right by taking care of our folks. To be honest with you. And Colonel Bentley, Chief Guzman, holy cow! Like honestly, the command team here, probably one of the best command teams I've seen by empowering, and just honestly engaging. Does that make sense?
It does.
And they take care of the folks, and they really do. I think it's I don't think it's anything new, but at the level that they're doing, I think it's pretty dang cool.
I agree. Yeah, my few experiences with Chief Guzman is I had that thing I wanted to do, that academy, and I had a meeting with him, and I was.
Did he tell you no?
No, exactly. And I had like this full plan on how do I sell it? How do I get him to say yes to this?
What do you need to sell him for? The thing is, you had a clear, thought out plan. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You had something you wanted to do. You had a plan. Run with it. Yep. If it doesn't work, he'll readdress. That makes sense. Steer you in a different direction, but he's not going to tell you no.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went. It was pretty cool. It was nice. Like I wish I didn't waste so much time preparing. How do I sell this?
You're like, well, how do I do this? No, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. All right, so. What the Air Force does best is a difficult question to answer, but we got there.
It's probably a lot more than what we know. Does that make sense?
It
probably
is.
more than we're aware of.
Yeah.
Or we wouldn't be right here on a podcast.
Yeah, backyard basement podcast.
Dungeon. No, it's messing me.
All right, so a lot of times when I do these podcasts and I ask these questions, I'll later listen to things like, oh, I should have said this. That's such a good idea. I didn't think of. And here's one I have a great answer for because I've asked this 2 or 3 times now.
Oh, Lord.
But what's something you would change in the Air Force? If you could change 1 or 2 things, what would they be?
The easy answer is, I'll tell you, evaluations, right? I think that's easy. But everyone's like, how? And no one gives you a clear answer, right? That's why we went through how many iterations of evaluations, right? During the Chief Cody, went through there.
He's a controller, air traffic controller.
Yep, and then you had Chief, who was it? Forgot her name. I talked to her at AMC, her and her husband, both chiefs. She did the EPR for him. She went through 6, 7 versions of it. What would I change? Man, I really don't know. I think we're a pretty well-greased machine. I would just say, I think we need to do a better way, not saying because I'm moving now or anything like that, but I think we need to do a better thing about with when you have children, moving schools and stuff like that. I think we need to come up with a more standardized system. I think they're getting better at it, but there's some things, where you move that are just not conducive to it. So
Sure.
The school liaison officer is a heck of a resource. But the move's not hard on us, right? We can just pack up and go. Usually your husband and wife, but the kids, it's really hard on those. And I think we're getting better at it. But I think lining it up with school years. If we say we're the year of the family a couple years ago, the month of the military child and stuff like that, but then we're moving at kind of weird times. Does that make sense?
It does.
It doesn't line up. So moving schools from here to there, that's probably one of our hardest stressors that we've had. And I mean, to us, it's like we're big into education, right? So it's like, oh goodness, I just don't want my kids missing 10, 12 days of school.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that we need to work on. I think it's an assignment process, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's
we can figure
fair.
it out. Yeah.
And you would have to do it with all 5 branches.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I think we feed off what the Army's doing and stuff like that.
But the Army's doing something special?
No, but I think how we line people out, right? I think we can forecast a lot better, right? If we can forecast deployments in 4 or 5 year increments, I think we can get availability and openings and stuff like that done. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think the assignment process is just a little bit different, but I'm happy with the job I got.
How old are your kids?
That wasn't a dig on my job. I love my job. My kids 14, 7, and 3.
Okay.
So high school, elementary school, and then hopefully pre-K. Yeah. Get back down south.
Okay. So I was a military kid, and my dad, I literally moved every 2 to 3 years my entire life until I got to Offutt and was there for 5 years as an airman to staff sergeant.
Offutt.
I liked it. That's actually maybe because I was there for so long.
So windy.
Same thing. It's very similar to Spokane.
It is. The climate's almost identical.
Yeah. And then being young there and I'll get
not
there.
Me. You go ahead.
Yeah. But I would say being a military kid, moving all the time, I think me and all my friends, because most of my friends growing up in high school were also military kids moving. Your social skills are really good. You're just used to moving.
You have to be, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yep.
Unless you wanted to sit by yourself. So that's something good all 3 of your kids should have.
No, that's good. We honestly transitioning up here because my kids we were in Arkansas for so long, right? I mean, that's all they knew.
Yeah. How long is so long?
13 years.
Wow, you were at Little Rock that long?
13 years. I thought the Air Force forgot about me. Actually called my MatchCom function. I was like, hey, man, what the hell's the Air Force doing? He's like, dude, you know how much dwell time, because I deployed so much, right? My dwell time wasn't very high there. But when I moved up here, I was like, oh, man. And we thought it was going to be, and it was rough, right? But then now they've grown so much, and we talked to them the other day about moving. They were like, okay, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, wow, this is great. So, I mean, your kids are resilient. I think they're probably better than us. We get nervous when we move too, because you got a whole new job, whole new group. But they're like, all right, cool, let's go find some more kids. I got sports.
Yeah. So. That's a good attitude they have. Yeah. Even as a kid, I was a little stressed, but I was also kind of excited to. And then the internet's a thing, so I knew I could keep up with most of my people, the ones I wanted to.
Yeah. So you got a leash, but it's also it's something to be able to cast the net out, right? To reach all your friends.
Yeah. And I was so optimistic I'd be a millionaire at the age of 20 that I would just go fly to them. That didn't happen.
But yet here we are.
Here we are. I'm really hoping this thing takes off. I need you to say some stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna tweet this to all my friends. I'm gonna have to open Twitter now, I guess.
Yeah, if I think I'm gonna get 1 billion views, they might.
I don't even have Facebook, man. So I mean, you're probably. I'll open one now for you, just so
no, don't.
So I can like this page.
So I don't have a Facebook either. As of 72 hours ago, I got rid of mine as well. Yeah, I've done it once before for a year. I got rid of it, and then I brought it back because I PCS'd, and I was like, I need.
Yeah.
How long have you not had a Facebook for?
Minimum of 10, 12 years.
So
I think I opened one for 6 months, and then I was like, I don't care what is on sale at Walmart, right?
Uh-huh.
Remember when Facebook first kicked off, everyone's like, oh my God, look what I'm doing. I'm going to Walmart. I'm like, I don't care that much. But my thing is I care about people. Call me.
Yeah.
Come see me. Let me come see you, right? Let's have that interpersonal. I think it's a great tool. I think it's a hell of a tool, but I think it's also a crutch. So my thing is get out and see your folks, right? So some people buy into it and they like it. I can see you every day. You got my cell phone, like I told you, it will never change. Mm-hmm. Give me a call. I'll be there in a minute. If you need me there, I'll be there. But I'm not a Facebook guy.
That's cool. Yeah. I honestly, when I went to NCOA, my best friend there, he was John Hopper, and he didn't have Facebook or Instagram. And I just remember thinking, like, wait, how do you not have this? Like,
Yeah.
I think there's 140 kids in my NCOA, and he was the only one that didn't have it. We all had like a thing or like a chat, and he was just like, oh, yeah, I don't do that.
I just got made fun of the other day for using Internet Explorer. And they were like, why aren't you using Chrome or Edge or Firefox or something?
I didn't know Explorer was still an option.
Shut up. See, it's like, heck, everybody, even Colonel Sims, IG, they were all laughing at me. I was sitting there, I'm like, it's the first one down there on the button. Isn't that what everybody uses? They're like, nobody uses that anymore. I was like, and they all started calling me old, and I was like, whatever. But it's fun. It was all tongue in cheek. Yeah. It's fun.
So how do you feel about change? Like, do you like change?
Nobody likes change. I mean, let's be honest with it. Nobody likes change, right? But the thing is, you got to embrace it, right? You got to roll with it. I still like to say I try to keep up with times, but I keep grounded in my roots, right?
Sure.
I think the Air Force, our technology is insane, but you notice when something goes down, everybody freaks, right? Everyone forgot what a paper is, how to write.
Sure.
I had to quit writing cursive. I started writing print because people can't read it. So it's nothing bad, but I love change. I think change is great, but it's just got to be changed for the right reasons.
Okay.
So if that makes sense, but yeah, I'm old school, right? I mean, I'd rather have a conversation. If we shake a hand on it, or I give you a concurrence on it, I think we're good. Right. And I take your word more than I do a signature or whatever like that. If John tells me, hey, you put your name on it, I'll take that to the bank all day long.
Okay. So. I like that. Yeah. I only use Chrome because I got bullied into like people saying exactly what they said to you when I was using Edge. Like, I liked Edge. It did everything.
You gave in to peer pressure. Yeah. I still use Internet Explorer. So
do you remember when LeaveWeb wouldn't like let you use it or like sign it unless you were on the right computer in your office?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but Edge would work on that, and so I use Chrome now.
I realized out processing that I have to, when I got on my vector to do my family, my family it was EFMP, like to say whether you're good to travel or what it is. And I sit there and I called the young lady up and I was like, what the heck is it? Why is this thing not loading? I was getting all frustrated, just like how we always do. You're mad at the situation, so you call somebody. And I sit there and she goes, sir, are you using Edge? And I was like, or Internet Explorer? I said, yeah. And she goes, please use Chrome. I logged in. I was like, dadgummit, thanks. I was like, I feel stupid now. And she's like, it's okay, sir. Like that. And I was just like, she just called me old without calling me old, but I appreciate it. But it was cool.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. All right. So here's another one. If you could have history with anyone in history, you could have lunch with anyone in history that's dead, who would you pick? Can't be a family member.
Man, that's a good one. The Conway Twitty.
Why?
He's always able to relate. Ladies, man. No, I was messing with you. No, I don't know. I just say that. My wife looks at me over. We both looked over like just cautious eyes. You know what I mean? She's over just smiling. No, I'm gravitated to music, right? Why? It's able to reach people. Mm-hmm. My wife will tell you, my kids are big into music, right? Just listening to it.
Even a 3-year-old?
Oh yeah, like they'll sit down if I put on a video, something like that, they're just drawn to it. That's just something. But my thing is I think I got my connectiveness by being able to listen to music and how does it relate, right? What kind of music do you listen to, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I ask people. What do you like about it? How does music influence you? That's connectiveness, right? So honestly, just jokingly, just someone quick. I mean, everyone brings off some big philosopher or whatever like that. It's great. Anybody, honestly, I just sit down with anybody. Be honest with you, I'd love. Everyone's like, oh gosh, is sitting there going. To me, I like old westerns. My wife hates them. I love black and white westerns. I know you're just looking at me like I'm old now. And if I'm ever sick, or if I'm sitting there, she's like, she walks out of the room. John Wayne, Conway, I mean, he's a duke, right? He's just a god. That's a phenomenal guy, and a lot of stuff he resonates. I'd like to have 3 dinners, to be honest with you, or a drink with 3 people. Conway Twitty, because he can connect with anybody, right? And he's a ladies' man, but don't tell me why. The Duke, why? Just the way he was, his persona, how he carried himself. A lot of people were drawn to him, but honestly, probably the biggest one would be President Reagan.
Okay.
Yeah. Why? I mean, look at the stuff that he's influenced and what he was able to change, even though he fought some adversities and stuff like that. And then the stuff that it still resonates to today. Right. And, I honestly, I'd probably say number one out of everybody would be Reagan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like his philosophy on things. He's tongue in cheek. He always had a quip for something. You know what I mean? He always said something. You know, just joking around, even about Gorbachev or something like that. But he would just throw some little comment out there, and everyone would be like, "Oh." Now as you look back on it, you're like, "That's pretty damn funny." But I'd say Reagan first off.
He was in the entertainment industry too, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he was an actor for.
All three of your picks were.
Yeah, he was an actor. But the thing is, that's relatable. You know, how does he relate to somebody? You got three of them there that are entertainers, right? But they have to know how to draw somebody in. So that's pretty cool. To me, that's how I relate to him. How do you draw somebody in?
What questions would you ask him? Specifically Reagan, that's the one I'm most interested in.
Man, I'd say, how did you, my first thing would be like, what were you feeling day one on the job, right? How did you deal with that?
Yeah. Because
not only the emotions, but this, the stress of going, oh man, I'm the most powerful man in the world, right? Most powerful human being in the world is, that's honestly what I'd ask him. How did you cope with that? What was it like, right? Mm-hmm. Day one's not bad. He can give you that answer, but I'd be like, all right, how was day 6? And he'd be like, oh man, it was sucked, right? But honestly, it's just sitting there. How did you stay humble? But at the same time as, how'd you push what you wanted done? How'd you know how to build your team?
Yeah.
Right. Because everybody's going to, everyone's pawing at you just like anybody else. Right. If someone's on the rise, someone's grabbing you. But at the same time, is how do you know who to pull up and who's the right ones? Does that make sense?
It does.
So that's what I'd ask.
Yeah. That's good. My dad listens to this, and that's his favorite president ever. The whole time growing up,
Dad's awesome.
He would just always talk about how Ronald Reagan was the best.
Yeah, Reaganomics, man. But yeah,
cool.
I tell him if he likes Scotch, I drink Scotch with him. I love Scotch.
Yeah. You said that education was really big to your family. I guess where are you at with yours?
Man, I'll be honest with you, my wife's sitting there looking at me right now. So we're doing a PMP course.
Okay.
So we got to do that and knock that out.
Professional management. What is that?
It's project management.
Okay.
So my thing is I'm a big technical person, right? So I think technical education. I think what's his name? Mike Rowe. Mm-hmm. I love what he does for us, as a nation, right? Especially as tradesmen, because most of us enlisted our trades, right? I'm big into trades. So if you want to get a trades degree, I'm for that, because you got to think about it. You know what an HVAC guy makes on an after calls hour? You know what he makes per hour? It's insane. It makes doctors look like they don't make a lot of money. And the thing is if you look at the pendulum shift right now, a lot of people have degrees, but they're not really using them. Mm-hmm. And then you have a lot of tradesmen who might not have a degree but have a skill. They're making fairly good money.
Sure.
Nationally. So, and Mike Rowe, we follow him quite a bit. He actually does some stuff for CE, believe it or not. He does like videos for our graduations and stuff like that. And then he did something for Society of American Military Engineers, which we're both big parts of. Where you get in industry is he went to Congress and everyone like that saying, hey, trades and what they're doing and how the pendulum's shifting to work from college degrees over to trades degrees with what they're doing. And I'm big into trades, if that makes sense. So I like do my PMP. I'm probably going to call it done, to be honest with you. But if you want to get your 4-year, your undergrad, your master's, doctorate, I'm totally good with you doing that. But at the same time, I'm big into that. You know what I mean? I got one guy who wants to be a lineman. Everyone was dogging him forever on
like an offensive lineman.
No, like an electrical lineman.
Okay.
So the thing is, he wants to be a lineman. Everyone's like, "Hey man, you got to go take a college class." I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "He's taking classes to get his lineman. That's a heck of a certification. That's insane money when you retire, right? And that's a needed skill across the U.S. Every time a storm comes through, who's out there working it? Those guys, right? That's a heck of a trade. It makes way more money than you and I combined. Right, that's a phenomenal job. So, yeah, to me, that's what I see. That's where I put my stock in.
Yeah, so. That's really interesting to have someone say that, especially in the senior NCO in the Air Force. We're kind of told to go.
Here's the thing. When you go to a private sector, my wife, she's a civil engineer, right? She's a structural engineer. That's what her master's is in. And you have an MBA as well. She has an MBA as well.
2 masters, huh?
Yep, 2 masters. In private sector. When you get different licensing and different degrees and stuff like that, they pay you more. Right?
Sure.
I think we ought to pay each other more. Once you get your degree, why don't we pay you more?
I'd
Why don't you give you a stipend? I'll be honest with you. Why don't you give you a stipend? But at the same time, it's why aren't you advancing towards your specialty, right? Say I have an electrician that becomes a lineman. That's a good certification. Or me as a welder, right? Because we're welders as well. What if we get certified welders? You know what I mean? That's good money on the outside. Why aren't we pushing to that? Does that make sense?
It does. And I could see from the Air Force side why having a certificate to be a welder isn't, I guess that's an E6 job. If I'm thinking big picture, right? The best welder is an E6 doing the job. Because once you get to that E7, E8, top 3% ranks.
But what's most of your job? Most of your job is counseling, right?
Yeah. Are those ranks?
Yeah.
Sure.
Counseling, mentorship, stuff like that, right? Development, human relations. Does that make sense? So why are we not pushing for more of those degrees, right? Because I'll be honest with you, most of my job throughout the day is personnel. So to me, I think, why aren't we pushing, psychology, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Counseling, certifications or degrees or whatever like that, because that's really what we need.
I agree.
HR or something like that.
Maybe they'll get to that. Eventually, that makes sense to me, and I don't have any argument against it.
Yeah.
I think that's cool that your wife has 2 master's degrees. That's
I don't blow her head up. She's all right.
That's really
she's
rare.
all right. She's all right.
All right, we won't blow it up. Anyone can do it.
Please don't add.
Air Force paid for it.
I got to ride home with her, so please don't add any more to that.
All right. Well, I feel like you're doing really well. I'm really glad you came because you're saying a lot of really cool things. So I wanted to ask you about the stuff when Erica first said that I could get you on, I was really excited for the next couple questions here.
Okay.
And it's about being top 3 president at Fairchild. You did it for a full year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What made you want to do that?
I'll be honest with you. I came from Little Rock. I was the top 3 treasurer, and then I became the vice president. It's a little bit larger base. I think there's it's about 2 or 3 times the military personnel on Little Rock than there is here.
Wait, sorry, real quick. You said you were the president there and then the treasurer?
I was a treasurer, and then the vice president.
Oh, okay.
And then I PCS'd here. Then the Spivey's. I don't know if you ever heard of the Spivey's here. Phenomenal couple, a power couple here. They took over. Then COVID happened, right? So we weren't doing. I say we were active, but we weren't doing a lot. And but the thing is I was always involved, right? So we were trying to. We did the Zoom thing. We did the, the emails and all stuff like that. Well, when the next election came up, I had 2 folks nominate me for president. I didn't even really. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Let me think about it. But I was kind of reluctant to get around to it. And then I had 2 individuals that ended up writing something for me. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do this, right? This is a good thing, right? I'm always going to be here, but let's take a leadership role. And then we did I didn't even know I had to do a speech that day in the gym when they were doing elections. And then everybody came out with grand speeches. And I looked at them and said, hey, I'm Mark Castleberry. That's literally how I introduced myself. Hey, I'm Mark. We're all senior NCOs, right? Everyone knows Senior Master Sergeant Castleberry, but I'll say, hey, I'm Mark. This is where I'm coming from. And everyone talked about growing the 5.6, the airmen, this. And I said, man, what about home? What about the nucleus? What about us, right? If we're right, the other ones are going to be okay. Does it make sense? Because if we take care of home, everyone's going to be fine. And that's literally what I said. And I said, I'm a firm believer in networking. If I can call you and say, hey, John, what can I help? I need this. Can you help me? And you knock it out, right? The Salonishes, right? If I say, hey, Stacy, hey, Adam, what can I get? I need this. I need some help. They'll move it for you, right? But my thing is, and that's what we did, and I ended up getting elected. I think it was a great time. A lot of the same folks that were at that meeting are still coming to meetings today, which is great. So, yeah. And we've grown because I think the average attendance was 10, 12 people, and I think we've averaged between 40 to 60 per meeting now, which is great.
That's awesome. So, what do you think you did to get that attendance up?
No,
or your team
I think we shifted it up a little bit. Our first meeting, it went on for 2.5 hours. We actually had to cut it off. I was like, dear God, I got to get back to work, right? Sure. But the thing is something different. Everyone, I'm not being mean. I think a chief's take is great. I think leadership take is great, but you don't need to hear leadership philosophy every meeting that you go to, right? So our first meeting was over VA benefits, and we had the American Legion, who's tied in with the VA here, talk about retirement stuff and how planning and how to get your VA rating and all that. And then literally I was like, guys, we got to get back to work, right? And then our next few meetings, we just listened to what people were what they were going through, what we're going through, and what they wanted, right? And we kept it mobile. And people were like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm not having a set meeting in the CE Stampede room or in the education center. I was like, we'll bring it to you. You can't say you can't come.
Sure.
If I can go to maintenance, I can go to SEER, I can go to OG, I can go to MSG. I'm going to bring it somewhere close. You can't say you want to be part of it, but when I bring it to you, you're not there.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So to me, I think that's the best part. I mean, our leadership team was pretty awesome. You had Ledford, you had John Begg, who's the best Begg on base. Sorry, Diana. But then you also got, Blanco and stuff like that on there. Sorry, Blanco. So I think all great people.
Yeah.
So those guys were phenomenal. They did 99% of the work. I just had to be the salesman.
You just showed up and called people by their first
straight
name.
Up.
Huh?
As long as the printout was there, he's like Anchorman. I just read it. You know what I mean?
So, what are some of the best moments you had as your time as top 3 president?
I'll be honest with you, getting ready for the annual awards this year. Mm-hmm. Chief Guzman had a pretty good plan to go to kind of break it down to make it less formal, because of getting not out of the COVID, but a little bit more involved. I think it was pretty cool. Just watching that planning and seeing how it's growing, and how I think it's going to be a phenomenal year this year for the annual awards. Just honestly, the level of involvement, if that makes sense, from other people, from just being, just stepping up, doing different committees and stuff like that. So
okay.
I think that, to me, I've seen people that I didn't think would step up. So I think it's pretty cool.
That is cool to always see that, like to have an assumption and then they prove you wrong.
Yeah, you see the 5 people volunteer, then you're like, I want the 20, I want the 30.
Yeah.
And the annual awards, they've got what, a committee of like 30. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So you said you wanted to make it about home, about the E7s, E8s, and E9s. Mm-hmm. What were you able to do for the E5s and E6s and first 4?
Empower them, honestly, right? Like Sergeant Fulkerson, Dave Fulkerson from EOD, phenomenal guy. Induction ceremony. He took it. We were able to step away. Does that make sense?
Was that a top 3 responsibility?
Yeah, induction ceremony is top 3. Annual awards is top 3. That's our two big programs. And we were able to literally, hey, this is what we got. What do you need help with? What can we help you with? 100% ran with it, right? He built a committee, ran with it. We actually changed it up this year. I don't know if you knew much about the induction ceremony. Why do we get our stripes from a commander, honestly, that's never worn them, right? So we did it kind of like the Navy does, and we had the chiefs welcome you into the senior NCO. You're still getting it from the commander, but the thing is the chief, bring the top of the senior NCO tier, bringing it over to you. So that's pretty cool. So we did a little bit different this year.
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool. We were able to get that. And Chief Guzman, huge advocate for it. Colonel Bentley, he was like, heck yeah, you know what I mean? He loves the senior NCO, so he was like, sounds awesome, let's rock it,
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
That is cool. Have an influence on events that are traditionally done one way to like switch it up.
100%. Yeah, we need to get our senior NCO ways back, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what about things that you disliked about the year's top 3?
Man, I wouldn't say there's anything I disliked. We growing the 5-6, standing them up officially, the first 4, getting out. We built what they call the mafia. We call it where we get all the private orgs on base, the president, the vice president. We have a meeting every quarter. I kind of stood that up. Chief Guzman's taking that on now. But I really wouldn't say there's a dislike. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, it's drinking from a fire hose, but here's the thing. Just take small sips and go, right? Control what you can control, but empower your people. That's all you can do. But I don't think there's a dislike.
That's good. Yeah. I'll be honest. I've always considered running for that. I've been a master for only a few years. And I've thought about it, but it just seemed like, could I do this correctly? Do I even know what to do if I got the job?
Hey man, you don't know what it is till you get in it, right? So the thing is, if you have a preconceived notion of what it is, or what your outcome is, you're going to be totally wrong, right? Just jump in. Have faith. You got a good senior NCO corps. They'll help you.
How many hours a week do you think you put into it?
I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't even know. My thing is like, I couldn't tell you what I'm going to do in a day.
It's probably inconsistent, huh?
It is, but the thing is you have a team, right? So you're never alone. Even if you're the president all the way down to the treasurer, they're all pulling their weight. They're doing the same amount of work as you're doing, right? Say you're the secretary, right? You're doing the same work as the president is, so it's no big deal. So just get involved.
Okay.
And here's the thing, even if you're not, be involved. You're supporting them. So if there's any senior NCO out there, my one biggest pet peeve is senior NCOs that say they don't want to be involved. Okay, that's fine, but we should be invested in it. How's that? Is that financially? Is that just being out and just helping out with something? I think we all should be doing that, right? Because here's the thing: if everybody, our dues are what, like $20 a year.
Yeah.
There's 196 promotion eligible master sergeants on Fairchild. Times that by 20. How much fundraising would you have to do in a year?
No, that's a lot of
very,
money.
very little, right? So here's my thing. I'm not saying that as a sales pitch, but my thing is going, if everybody pays it forward, it makes the program go a lot better. Because remember, a lot of the money isn't just sitting there just sitting. We're investing it into programs, to scholarships, induction ceremony, award ceremony, and other things. We're also helping other crews out, so it's pretty cool.
That is cool. And I know I could see your team here being very great. Like I've been to a few top 3 meetings here, and it always seems to run smooth. When you were, let's take it back to Little Rock, vice president, treasurer at Little Rock, could you say the same about that top 3 team? All of the council wanted to.
Yeah, no, we grew it quite a bit, right? We had a really good president at the time, and Brock Ashley, he phenomenal guy. He was an ops group, I believe, ops group guy. So take it with a grain of salt. No, I'm just messing with you. Yeah, but phenomenal guy. So he really helped us out, and we had the family, right? We had the Chiefs group there in full force. So it's pretty cool that we had their backing, and when you got their backing, you got everything.
Okay,
it's pretty cool. So I just kind of brought that flavor here.
Awesome, I can see it.
Yeah.
Question I've been excited about it. What do you think about like people who just hate top 3, like people who just don't like it, or like it's just people trying to get a bullet? Obviously, have you ever had like anyone approach you and say that, or like, what would you say to those people?
All the time. Here's my thing: is if you like, we have kids, right? Try this. No, I don't like it. Why do you not like it? I don't think I like it. Okay, maybe you're not right for this one position, or you're not right for this. Maybe you're not a lead. Maybe you're a support cast. It doesn't matter. Just be involved, right? There's nothing different in the top 3 organization that doesn't go on every day in your job. And if anything, it allows your job to be easier. So here's the thing. If I wasn't in top 3, I'd know quite a few folks, but I wouldn't know almost every senior NCO on base, right? And she'll tell you, if I ever need help, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, man, I can do this on my own. I'm gonna suffer. No, I'm going to call them or reach out, network. So my thing is going, it's only going to make your job better. Does that make sense? It's most reluctancy is on their own accord.
I could agree. What is it going to hurt? An hour of your time once a month? That's my argument to it.
And here's the thing. No one cares if you come late and leave early.
Yeah, you're right.
Here's the thing. If you're wanting your people to be involved, why aren't you involved? Right? To quote the Brown Book, right? Sitting there, we got to support private orgs. Why aren't you supporting it?
Yeah.
Are you really all the way to the right? You see what I'm saying? And if that's how technical you want to get about it, but the thing is going, don't tell me that I'm not doing enough if you're not willing to help put in the same level of effort.
Right.
So, and my thing is, it's just the right thing to do, right? We're helping our brother, sisterhood out.
Yeah. I really like that answer. A lot of times when I write down questions on what I should ask people, I'm like, I hope this isn't a hard question to ask. And so that's why I always start I'll cut it out if you don't like a question.
That's totally fine.
Cool. Well, the last few things I want to ask you, last 2 questions that I like to ask everybody. Unless you're an air traffic controller, then it's a different avenue. But for this one, what I really want to start this podcast for was about leadership, just trying to figure out what it is that good leaders do well and how we can all replicate that. So in your just over 20 years now, right? Who is the best mentor, best leader you've ever met? And if you have to pick more than one, that's fine. Who is it, and what was it that made that person did so special?
I met him in 2018, right? 2018. Air Mobility Command. So Air Mobility Command got selected. Didn't even know it was an actual opportunity, but got selected to go to the AMC superintendent course, right? Okay. It's a grooming course. It's a networking about, honestly, it's kind of like a chief grooming course, right? Because your squadron superintendents usually go to it, and your group superintendents. Chief Hatcher. Okay. I don't know if you ever heard that name before on base.
I heard it about 30 minutes ago when you said it, but no, I haven't heard it here.
Phenomenal guy. Everyone's like, oh, man. But I will tell you, he's probably been one of the most impactful human beings. Not saying just chief, but just human beings I've had. Right, just his presence. Great guy. Met him there. We were the only 2 real CE guys at this course. There's 48 of us across AMC, and they flew us in there. They even flew our wives and stuff in there so they can go do spouse stuff. And it was a 4-star event, right? So it was just networking, just overload. It was pretty awesome. He was at Fairchild. Just put on senior. I was at Little Rock as a master sergeant. It was a senior course, you know what I mean, to go up there, and I was fortunate to be selected. and met. And when I PCS'd up here, I messaged him. I was like, "Hey man, you still at Fairchild?" He's like, "Yeah man, I'm still here." We hit it off, right? And he was at IG at the time, even though he's a CE guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was IG superintendent, and we just hit it off. And he literally took me under his wing. Hey, you're doing great things. This is how I'd shift a little bit. Okay, cool, right? Kind of like, okay, maybe it's a little bit different, but he never told me to change who I was. So I think he just kind of knocked some of the rough spots off a little bit. I'm still pretty coarse, but the thing is he's personable, he cares, and it's genuine. Okay. And honestly, right now, like we were texting the other day, he's a Georgia fan, so and I'm an Arkansas fan, so I mean he can give me hell because they win a lot more than we do. But he's SECs. But we were messaging him the other night, and he's overseas right now.
Okay,
he's over there, all year. He's doing a 365. We're messaging each other. He's like, "Hey man, it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm still watching the game, right?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah, right." But he'll never not miss a moment to connect. Management by walk around.
Yeah.
Chief Hatcher, right? Sit down, just helping me kind of get shifted where I need to go. Putting in for top 3. People put me in for that.
Was he the one that did that?
A couple people were, right? So my thing is, that's cool, right? He saw potential in me that I didn't know. He pushed buttons, and he'll talk to you, but you're like, is he giving me advice? Is he telling me? Mm-hmm. Is he asking me? But the thing is, he makes you think, and then sometimes he'll just do something, and you're just like, oh wow, dang, that worked. Or you do something, he's give you that smile. You're like, man, I don't even want to hear about it. Yeah. And then him and my wife teamed up, and they made fun of me this last year. So there's pictures floating all over base on me that he's really good at Photoshop. So it's pretty funny, but it's the personal aspect of it. But I say Chief Hatcher, honestly, he's probably one of been my biggest influential people in my career.
That's a great answer. Going through that leadership academy here, one of these guys, Staff Sergeant Dominic Rogers, didn't talk like the entire 10 weeks, and then at the very end, he created a leadership philosophy, and it kind of relates to what Chief Hatcher just said. And his idea was that it's agriculture. You gotta give airmen and NCOs the room to grow. You got to water them, give them the sun, make sure they got it. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, don't take a tomato and try to grow into an apple.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to throw a little shit on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess that does make it grow too.
But you know what I'm saying? But at the same time is what's your full potential? Mm-hmm. If you're not trying to overload somebody sometimes, right? Where everyone's like, man, I'm tapped. Sometimes she'll even tell you, because I work, like if I'm awake at 3 a.m, I got to work. Mm-hmm. Right, but that's just how my mind works. Am I right? Yeah. So if I just get up, my mind works. If it's awake, I'm awake. I just get up and go. Right. And he would challenge you, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do any much more. I don't know if I can handle this. You can. Yeah. But remember, he's got your back. Right. Your peers got your back. Mm-hmm. And it was like, dang. Okay. So then now he's gone. Right. Not gone, but he's deployed. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that jumped over to us as senior NCOs, the rest of us, and it was actually great. He was growing up. Your legacy. Yep. Your legacy. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So last question is person. I mean, I think I know who you're going to pick, but I'll ask you anyway. Person that's a lower rank than you that has a great future ahead of them.
Man, you want me to say Dave Probst, so I'm not going to say that. If Dave listens to this, I'd be like, no. It's like, man, there's so many. And I hate to say it. It's like, oh, it's so cliche. It's like, oh, there's so many. Uh-huh. Of course, Dave Probst. I think, no, I'm being serious. I mean, I could name across the base who I really think. I just think we have a really good team right now. I think we're in a good spot, and I think it trickles down from honestly from the wing down. And people are like, what do you mean? Leadership in our how we're moving and stuff like that. It kind of waterfalls, right? Sure. It's going. You could be doing great things where you're at, but if it's stovepipe up top, if it's not heard up top, if it's not valued up top, then it's not going to ever really trickle down. Does that make sense? Sure. I think Colonel Bentley, Chief Guzman, through all the group commanders and stuff like Colonel Daniels, Colonel Freeman, everybody just flowing it down. Not to cut out any other group commanders, but I think we're in a good spot as a wing. We're doing really good with getting folks promoted, put in the right positions. But the thing is going. I think Dave Probst. I mean, I could honestly probably name off 10, 12 cats easily. But I think we're going right as a base now. I think our trajectory in the last 2 years has really grown. We've won a lot of stuff across the wing. We've won a lot of stuff across the AMC, 18th Air Force, all stuff like that. I think we're doing actually really good. Hell, that damn 20 plane, takeoff.
Yep.
I'm a CE guy. I'm like, yeah, well, good job. You took off 20 planes, right? Good job maintenance. You didn't break anything. But seriously, that's now looking back on it, you're like, dang, look what security forces. Look at what Goose did, right? I mean, he didn't do a lot, to be honest with you. I hope Goose listens to this, man. You didn't do anything. But my thing is, I'll call him on the way home.
I'd like that.
I'll call him on the way home and be like, dude, totally ragged you out. But my thing is going, look at each person's playing into it, right? Goose hell, look at him. He'll probably be a chief next year.
Hopefully.
First time, right? That's phenomenal. So if he is, man, I'm going to call him. I'm going to say, dude, congrats, bro, right? Joey Anderson, other senior down there, phenomenal guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, just everybody across the wing, they're killing it. So I think the base is doing it right. Everyone's growing. Even if you don't get promoted, we're still doing the right thing. We're rolling in the right direction. So that's what I would say. I mean, of course, okay, Dave Probstville, you're going to probably go somewhere. But other than that, I'm not going to say anything else about you. But that's what I would say.
That's a great answer. Cool. I should have started with this, but I didn't want to. When I asked Erica that question, actually, she looked at what I was going to ask her, and she started talking before I started our podcast the other week. But you were one of her picks for top best mentors, and for you to be hoping Goose makes chief. She said the same thing about you. So hopefully you make it. Erica's really hoping for.
Well, if you know anybody, put a good word in for me. You know what I'm saying? But
I don't.
Phone a friend. You know what I mean? But no, if not, to be honest with you, I told my wife if I retire where I'm at, I'm blessed, right?
Yeah.
And I always tell her I'm blessed. If I'm blessed enough to get promoted, man, hey, that's just more to give, right? But and what I say by that, it's different opportunities to go different places, right? So, whether it ends in the next few years or whatever, dude, it's still been a hell of a ride. But the thing is, if it keeps going, hey, let's keep grinding,
Yeah.
So,
well, Mark, that's a great attitude towards promotion. Yeah. I really appreciate you having you on here, and just over an hour.
Hey, man.
But if you got anything left before we end this,
no, I just want to honestly say thanks, man, for my second official podcast. Not to dime, Erica out or anything, I guess, but she needs to step her game up a little bit. But this is pretty awesome.
She was worried about you saying that when
she
came in here. She's like, people are going to trash talk mine.
Yeah, no. She's phenomenal in what she's doing for honestly, when I first got here, I only knew the first career assistance advisor because he was prior CE, right? I mean, doing great things. But Erica's really taken that program off, and her interaction with the airmen, God, it's insane, right? It's like, holy cow, like she's emailing me like, hey, Mark, do you know you got a person wanting to do this? And I'm like, whoa, dang, how the heck you know this? But the thing is hey, and then she's hitting it from a different angle and trying to help them.
Yep.
And then I'm hitting them from our angle, trying to help them. So that's awesome. So, mad respect for her. She's phenomenal.
She does the same thing for my people. Yeah, she does it really well. I think if I had to pick someone that knows more people on base than you do, it might be her. Like,
man, that girl. I'll tell you what, man. She just needs to take that dang reflective belt off. That's all right all the time. Take that damn reflective belt off, Erica. Love you to death, but take that belt off. You ain't maintenance no more. So I know you still at the heart, but no, she's phenomenal.
I agree.
So yeah, she's Air Force needs to get it right on her.
I agree. Cool. Well, you're 4 days away from PCS. Once again, thanks for finding the time to come here on short notice. Yeah, and I always forget to get like a cool thumbnail for the YouTube clip and the Spotify clip. Yeah. So let's do a little cheers. First time cheers in these koozies.
Hey, yeah.
Actually, me and Goose might have. I forget, but second time maybe.
The hell with Goose, man. Mine's better.
You can sign right on top of him.
Yeah. And I'm actually gonna sign over his. You know what I mean? I'm gonna sign his name out. I'm gonna put just cross him out. So.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again for being here. Man.
Appreciate you.
Yep. This podcast was recorded on a Monday, and Mark PCS'd to Gulfport, Mississippi 4 days later on a Friday. I am grateful that he found an hour of his time to drink 2 beers with me and talk about his thoughts on leadership. Many senior NCOs at Fairchild, to include myself, are hopeful that he makes chief this year. Thanks for listening. Have a Tisue podcast is available everywhere that you get your podcast from.